Hello Exiles, it's Dosi here, bringing you an update on my low-life cold convert EK Hierophant. In this video, I'm going to show you a few different techs and answer some frequently asked questions about the build guide. This is probably going to be my only update for this character because I've accomplished pretty much all my goals for the league and cleared everything with it. So I'm going to move on to another project. But before we start, I wanted to thank again each and every one of you wonderful people watching my videos and giving me such great feedback. Putting out content is a bit scary, but you guys have been really motivating and have made me want to create more. I'm currently at almost 1K subscribers, which is a threshold at which YouTube officially recognizes me as a content creator. So if you're new and like this video, it would help out a lot if you left a comment, liked, and subscribed. Let's get started. The first object of today's video is leveling, because people have been asking about this a lot. So straight up, do not level with this build. There are too many mandatory uniques necessary to make it feel good. Instead, I recommend you go for another leveling build and switch to this one once you have the core uniques. You can level with whatever you want really, but if you're bad at leveling like I am, I would definitely recommend any of these two leveling builds. The first one would be in league start scenario when you don't have any currency, and the second one would be if this wasn't your first character, and if you could invest a couple chaos, maybe divines even, into leveling gear. Pox's Righteous Fire Inquisitor guide is extremely thorough and made for SSF, meaning it's perfect for a league start scenario. On his website, you will find everything you need to level up your character as smoothly as possible. Tai Killer's Twink Templar leveling guide trivializes everything in the story thanks to hollow palm technique, and makes it so that once you get past level 20, you basically never have to worry about your gear and can zoom through the campaign while one-shotting everything. It's extremely satisfying. I would not switch to Cold Convert EK Hierophant before you get a Heat Shiver, the Bubonic Trail Boots, Coruscating Elixir, a Brutal Restraint that gives you the Traitor, and a pair of Hrim Sorrows as well as a Prism Guardian. Of course, if you have higher tier gear, you can switch to those directly. The most important part of this video, in my opinion, is this new tech that I incorporated into the build. It was inspired by Palestrom's Lightning Orb character. Basically, at the moment, I have a level 23 Lightning Orb with nothing linked to it, no special text, nothing. If I use it, you can see that there's quite a big delay before I actually teleport, and that's not something that you want to have in the game. The goal here will be to increase the reduced duration up to 100%, meaning you will have 0 duration on your Lightning Orb. The first thing here is getting the Lightning Worm Help enchant. Once you get that, you'll be at 82% reduced duration, making your Lightning Orb already much better than before, but that's not all. Then, with Empower support, we raise the level of the gem even more. That gives us 3% reduced duration to get to 85%. Finally, on the tree, you're going to want to equip a Magebane Impossible Escape to take a window of opportunity and get the final 15% missing. You can also not use Empower and take these 2 points, but I prefer saving some skill points on the tree. As a third link, you can equip Faster Casting to make Lightning Orb even faster and even snappier. As you can see, it's extremely satisfying. The next tech I wanted to go over in this video is for map clearing. If you're going to focus on map clearing, then you might want to recolor your chest. If it's corrupted, that means using Tainted Chromatic Orbs. You will want to replace one of your blue sockets with a green one. Then, equip either Awakened Fork or Awakened Chain support to get insane clear. I didn't really want to invest any more into this character, so I've only been using the basic chain and fork support from the vendor, but I can already feel the difference. If you're going to swap regularly between bossing and mapping, or maybe you're farming invitations, then you'll want to have a level 21 hypothermia ready for a single target. Finally, if you really want to go ham on the clear setup, you'll want to replace either Taste of Hate or Bottled Faith with Oriath's End for massive explosions on top of everything. I definitely did not expect this build to gain so much traction. The consequence of that being that Corrupted +4 Ivory Towers are now extremely rare, and they're probably quite expensive whenever they pop up on the trade site. So either you double corrupt them yourself, or you end up disappointed. But there can be alternatives to Ivory Tower. The first thing you can do is go on the trade site and search for any body armor that has the good double corruption. Here you have a few. The first one costs 20 chaos. Let's see what happens if I plug this into the medium tier PoB. So I gain 4 million DPS and I lose around 11k HP. If you ask me, that's not too bad of a trade-off, especially for 20C. Let's see what happens now if I take the second one, which costs 50C. So for 50C, what happens? Once again, I gain 4 million DPS and I lose around 11k HP, but I also gain a lot of Chaos Res, so this might be great if you're low on Chaos Res. Not too bad of a trade-off once again, especially for 50C. Now let's see what happens if I plug this one in for 50C as well. So this one gives me even more DPS and I lose even less EHP. I guess that's because of the increased aura effect. So with this chest you get to 20 million DPS, still remain around 130k EHP, and yeah, that sounds pretty good to me, especially for 50C. The second option would be to go for Ghost Rifts. Here I've only looked for one of the two corruption mods without worrying about any other rolls on the item. The first one costs 8C. Let's plug it into the medium tier PoB. Yeah, so I gain a little bit of DPS, I gain a lot of Chaos Res, and in general I gain some EHP, but I lose a lot of armor compared to the Ivory Tower, making Aegis Aurora less effective. That's the reason why I prefer Ivory Tower on the final version of my build, but honestly it's a side grade. A lot of people have been asking me about Trinity, about maintaining their lightning resonance and things like that. I know this gem can be quite scary with its huge wall of text, but it's actually quite easy to make it work. When you deal an elemental damage type, so cold, fire, or lightning, you gain resonance for the two other types. That means that to gain full effect of Trinity, you only need to deal 2 types of damage. In this build, since we're converting to cold, that's our main damage type, then with Heat Shiver, we deal fire damage if the enemy is frozen or chilled. That means that if your Trinity resonance is not full, there are 2 possible reasons. Either you're not freezing nor chilling the enemy, so I don't know, maybe you have too low damage and you're not hitting the ailment threshold, or for some reason you aren't inflicting elemental ailments. The other possibility is that you deal too much damage actually, and that you're one-shotting the enemies. You cannot hit a frozen enemy if it's instantly dying to your first hit. One thing I completely forgot to talk about in my build guide was tattoos. So if you're watching this video in any version of PoE after 3.22, you can probably just skip this part. We are using one attribute notable tattoo, the Honored Tattoo of the Hunter, to boost our EK level and damage. We are also using the Loyalty Tattoo of Kilowava, which gives us an effect similar to Aegis that stacks with Aegis when it procs. So it's pretty good for recovery. Other tattoos are mostly luxury. The Honor Tattoo of the Turtle, which increases global defenses by 3%, can replace your int nodes to boost your armor and ES a bit. The Honored Tattoo of the Flock, which increases aura effect by 1%, can improve your damage a bit, but it will make you lose out on energy shield and mana, reducing your EHP. In my current setup, I've managed to fit in 7 luxury tattoos on allocated small attribute passives on the tree, and 1 on an unallocated passive next to my Unnatural Instinct. Quite a few people have been asking me if this build can use Mageblood. The short answer is yes, it can. I didn't plan on using it, but for those who are interested, in the updated PoB I made Mageblood versions of the expensive and mirror tier PoBs. Since I haven't playtested these versions, there might be some flaws. Take a look at the notes of the PoB to see what I moved around. Some people have had bad experiences with bleeds and chaos dots. That's understandable, it can be a problem for a lot of ES builds. There are 2 things that you need to have and some things that you can spec into if you're really having a hard time. You want to have a CB immunity jewel somewhere in your build. This is mine, for example. You also want to have high chaos res to survive chaos dots. If that's not enough, you can opt into the Soul of Arcali Pantheon to reduce dot damage. If that's not enough for chaos dots, you can spec into the Soul of Shikari to reduce chaos damage even more. And if bleeding is causing you difficulties, you can spec into the Soul of Ralakesh so that it doesn't cause extra damage when you move. If you're having trouble with Reflect on your maps, the best advice I can give you is to not run Reflect maps. But let's say you're running content where you don't have the choice. I don't know, maybe you're doing Feared Invitations and you have to kill Uber Atsiri, which reflects damage. Then there's a quick trick that you can use to make this build reflect immune. You want to unspec any node on the skill tree. I usually go for the block node. Then you want to take the Elemental Mastery for 60% reduced reflected elemental damage taken. And you want to pick the Soul of Yugal in the Pantheon for an additional 50% reduced reflected elemental damage taken. There you go, you're reflect immune. Many people have been asking me if this build can do Simulacrum and Delirium maps. Yes it can. It can clear all contents. I do recommend going for the clear setup though, if you want to focus on Simulacrum or Delirium maps, at least getting an Awakened Chain or an Awakened Fork. Right before recording this part of the video, I completed Simulacrum. I died twice during the whole run, and averaged 5.4 rewards throughout the run. In the description of the video, I've linked an updated PoB, with every tech included and with every mistake that had been pointed out corrected. I have also written down a lot of additional information in the notes section, so be sure to check that out. I've tried to go through the most common questions I got under the build guide, and I've been trying to account for all your feedback in order to get better and to offer better content. I have a lot of ideas and will probably release at least one other build before the end of the league. I'm really trying my best and I'm working really hard, so if you like this video and the build, it will help out a lot if you subscribe to the channel. So if anyone has stayed until the end of this video, thank you very much. As a bonus, I'll add in wave 30 of the Simulacrum that I ran, which was quite smooth. I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, I guess see you next time, maybe? I don't know.